Hi, and welcome to Technique and Practice with Inspiro. My name is Anna Marie Ryan, and in this video, I'm going to address the question, why practice vocal technique? There's a few key points that I would like to address in this video. They're all based on my own experience as a singer in terms of understanding why vocal technique is important, and also my experience working with other singers who maybe aren't as familiar with how to put vocal technique into practice or why they should even bother. Because let's be honest, it's a lot more fun to just sing songs. But you'll see at the end of this video, hopefully, why practicing vocal technique can actually make singing the songs more fun. So the first thing that I'd like to address as an answer to this question is the concept knowledge is power. We've probably all heard that somewhere before. I like to tweak that a little bit because as a singer, I find it more helpful to think of this as the phrase knowledge is empowering. When I first started out as a singer, I didn't know a lot about how my voice worked or how my body worked in terms of producing vocal sound. And as I gained that knowledge, I felt empowered in my ability to share my voice with other people. Because let's be honest, the more you know about something, the more confident you are in using those skills or teaching those skills to other people. And that's no less different with voice than it is with learning a trade or learning another instrument or learning a sport. The more we understand about something, the easier it is to put it into practice. Another reason we should practice vocal technique is because as we grow in our understanding of vocal technique, it becomes easier to diagnose and correct our vocal faults or our poor singing habits. And maybe you don't even know what those are, or you couldn't define them. And this was very much the case for me when I first started singing lessons. But as I became more aware of some of my poor habits that I developed, it became equally important to me that I learn how to overcome those poor habits and replace them with good habits. And in order to do that, I had to understand how those poor habits were affecting my sound and how I could change that in a way that would have a positive impact on my singing voice. So the ability to diagnose your own vocal faults and to overcome those and to improve upon poor habits, replace them with good habits, is absolutely like one of the most, I think, beneficial factors, one of the most beneficial benefits of practicing and understanding vocal technique. The third point that I want to bring up in answer to this question of why we practice vocal technique is that it's very similar to the first one. We grow in confidence as we grow in understanding because we learn how to manage our sound and how to control, in quotation marks, the sound that we produce. I put control in quotation marks because we don't want to be constantly manipulating our voice or our sound, but rather we want to understand how we can manage our breath, how we can change our resonance, how our vowels are affecting our tuning. If we understand all of these little concepts, then it improves our confidence because we know that if something is not right when we're singing, we have the answer. We know how to correct it and we know how we can work on it to overcome that challenge. So growing in confidence happens as we grow in our understanding of vocal technique because we know how we can make adjustments to our own voice. And as a result, performing becomes a lot less scary because, at least for me, when I was performing without a knowledge of vocal technique, it was intimidating because I had no idea what I was doing. And if something went wrong, if I was nervous and ran out of breath or sang out of tune, I didn't know how to correct that. And so I felt helpless. But that's where that empowerment comes in when we are learning about vocal technique concepts. The last thing to highlight is I think it's important that we recognize that as singers, we're no different than, for example, other musicians or athletes in that we need to practice technique in order to be able to perform well. We would, of course, never assume that a professional classical pianist or a trained violinist or a basketball player doesn't practice daily their technique and their drills extensively. That's actually a majority of what they practice is technique so that they can refine that before going on to perform their songs or to get on the court and play games. But somehow as singers, we have this idea that because singing comes naturally, we don't need to practice it per se. And that's a concept that is not very helpful because obviously if we want to improve, we want to learn, if we want to become more confident and grow as singers, we have to focus on the basics. So the practice of vocal technique is going to make our end game or our end performance that much stronger. That's about all I have on why we should practice vocal technique. And hopefully you have some of your own concepts and motivations for why to practice vocal technique. You may gain more as you watch more of these videos. So I just want to say thanks for watching, and we look forward to having you on the next episode of Technique in Practice.